Welcome to the Caribbean Edge. My name is Dawn Wilson. I am your host for this evening, and I have some lovely guests joining me to talk about autism. Now, April is Autism Awareness Month, and we wanted to share personal journeys with you, just like we usually do, because some of the best lessons in life is just us sharing information, personal experiences, and learning to inspire and motivate each other. So welcome to another Wednesday, and remember to share this episode. So my beautiful guest this evening, I do have Master Eddie joining. Hi, Master Eddie.
Yes.
Hello, hello.
How are you, Master Eddie?
Great.
Good. Thank you for joining. So tell us about you, Master Eddie.
Well, I am a grandmaster of Chundaquan Taekwondo, and I work with autistic kids in my dojo, and I also work outside with just people, and that's disabled adults and more. So I work with not just autism, the blind, as well as older adults, where they move on from being a kid, then they're teenagers, and they have a facility in two different places where they home, and they get the kids when they get older jobs, and they also keep them busy with other activities inside and outside of their facility. So I work with them as well.
Well, thank you.
I'm guessing from kids all the way up to adulthood and even retirement.
Beautiful. So thank you for the work that you do. We certainly appreciate you, and we'll dig into some of what you've experienced working with so many children as well. Welcome. And Team Smith, welcome. Glad to have you both. Tell us who you are and what you're doing.
Hi, my name is Geraldine, my husband Ron. We have 5 wonderful children. 2 of them have autism. They're teenagers right now, 13 and 5. We've been married for 20 years, fostering for 13 years, fostered about 20 kids right now. And we've adopted.
This is our 3rd child. We just adopted one this morning.
Today.
And she meant to tell you that my daughter's 15, suffers from autism, and my son is 13. Okay, and they have mild to severe, moderate to severe autism. And we're very happy to do what we do.
Thank you. And adoption as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to learn a lot from you both, why you do what you do, which is so needed, and also what you can share with us about the differences between both children as well. So thank you. Miss Aura, welcome. Tell us about you, Aura.
Well, hello, my name is Aura. I formerly worked with children on the spectrum as well as young adults with different ID or DD disorders. Previously worked with a company in Georgia called In Community. I worked in 2 different departments. One was more of a home setting, and another one was more of a job placement setting. I have about 9 years experience working with people on the spectrum and adults with different ID and DD disabilities. And I also have a son who is 7. His name's Amir, and he is on the spectrum, and he's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're going to dig into the spectrum. You're going to educate us on that, right, Aura?
Yes. I definitely have a little insight.
So we're not gonna go to Adonica yet because she's driving, and I'm not safe right now. So let's get into some conversations about autism. So of course I looked it up. I wanted to know what autism, the definition is. So I'm going to share that with you. The definition is it's a developmental disorder characterized by difficulties with social interaction and communication, and by restricted and repetitive behavior. Parents often notice signs during the first 3 years of their child's life. These signs often develop gradually, though some autistic children experience regression in their communication and social skills after reaching developmental milestones at a normal pace. And it does say that autism is associated with a combination of genetic and environmental factors. Risk during pregnancies includes certain infections, such as rubella, toxics including valproic acid, alcohol, cocaine, pesticides, lead, air pollution, fetal growth restriction, autoimmune diseases, etc. So just the definition I was able to find to clear up what we're discussing this evening. So we're going to talk to the Smiths for a little bit. And I heard a British accent for Mrs. Smith. Are you from England? You're muted, Mrs. Team Smith. There we go.
There you go. Yes, I'm born and raised in London, England. Born, raised, and educated.
Okay. So and where is Mr. Smith from?
Mr. Smith, oh, that's me. Yeah. I am a New Yorker. I was born in New York, in the Bronx, to be exact.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm from.
Wow. So how did you guys meet?
At work.
Yeah, on the job.
Oh, at work, huh?
Yeah, we were both in the hospitality business, and we met each other, became friends, became Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Beautiful. So who had the initial idea of adoption, and how did that initial conversation go?
Okay. Well, it was a joint idea because we're partners, you know, life partners, and that's what we do. We talk about, we share everything. So what it was basically came to me. I spoke to God and I asked God. We moved down to Georgia, and I asked God. I had a house that had a lot of space in it, so I asked God. I said, God, you know, I got a lot of space. You brought me down here. I just want to know what to do with this space. So he said, fill it with love. And I asked him how to do that. And he said, you have children, so go get some more, you know? And I was like, so what are you telling me? You know, he said, well, there's children out there that need parents. They need people to love them, nurture them, and take them to the next phase of their life. So I talked to my wife and we agreed on it. You know, I was working and I decided that I think it would be in our best interest if we're going to do this, go on this path, that one of us has to stay home, you know, to do this. And that was me. So I stay home. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I take care of all 5 of my children. I love them to death. Love my wife as well. You know, she's my biggest child, you know, but that's what led me to where we're at now, you know, fostering for me. And dealing with the subject at hand and what you're talking about, because we did foster children, you know, what they call normal children, right? And then we said, you know what, we got a special skill set, a special calling. We took the training to deal with children with special needs. And that's how we got to where we at right now, basically, you know, dealing with children with autism and a wild spectrum of stuff. We've had children come through that had G-tubes, all that stuff going on, you know, and stay the course. We did what we needed to do. We still do what we need to do on a regular basis.
Good, thank you. So let's talk about your two children that have autism. So there's a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, correct?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and at what age did you notice, and walk us through what your initial thoughts were, what were the signs, and I'm sure at some point you got together and discussed it and agreed and got tested?
Well, they were both foster kids when they first came to us. And they were 3 and 4 when we first got them. And it was a couple of months down the road that we had them that we noticed, okay, something isn't quite right here. So we went out to do a lot of testing, and finally it came back. I think it was at our daughter, who is the oldest of the two, was the first one to get diagnosed, and it was done through school. They realized that she wasn't developing or communicating as well as she's supposed to, or to do at that age. So we got tested, and that's when we got the diagnosis that she's most probably got the autism, because we could see her communication wasn't where it was supposed to be. She's very withdrawn. She holds back a lot. A lot of things that you would think a teenager does at her age, she's just not interested. She's very to herself. If we have a lot of movie nights at home where we'll sit down and do the popcorn. If you ask her, do you want to watch the movie? Her instant thing is no, she'd rather go to her room. So there's a lot of signs that you pick up on and you see, and it's like, okay, something isn't quite right. And you always go with your instinct, because mother's instinct would tell you there's something not quite right here. Whereas our son, our 13-year-old, he has more of the mild, so his symptoms weren't as drastic, but you could still see there's still some things here that are not quite right. So we did the same thing with him as well. So he has a much milder form of it, whereas our daughter is more to the severe end of it.
And what are some of the difference, the things that she does differently?
Well, she is more introverted, as my wife was saying. She tends to shy away from public activities and stuff like that. Whereas my son, he'll jump right in. You know, he's very boisterous. He's very, oh my God, charismatic. I mean, you give him the stage and he'll run with it. You know, whereas my daughter is very soft-spoken, very, very introverted, and you have to constantly repeat things to her. Whereas with him, you may have to do it once or twice, but with her, you have to constantly guide her and talk her through things, you know, and she forgets very quickly what you taught her. So it has been a struggle, it really has.
Yeah. And so how do you prepare her for the future? Because I was reading or all your kids, as a matter of fact, because as a family, it's something that you're all handling, speaking about. I'm assuming the other kids are supportive and understand if they're age appropriate, obviously. But I was reading, as far as employment, when they get older, only half of autistic kids are employed. And then the wages, because of the jobs that they do get, are very low. So obviously there needs to be more awareness about it and help to increase salaries and job opportunities as well. So throughout your path, is there any resources you're using that you could share, or how are you handling that looking forward?
We have a very good resource at school, which I'd always say would be the first step. We've got 2 great people that we have in the county that we're from that have got resources for grants that are specifically for autistic kids. She's going to high school now, and again, being autistic, she's not very good with change. So it's something that we have to talk to her about the summer to prepare her for it. So now that she's going, and now we've got another contact there that we have that she also has a Down syndrome son, but she is full of information information about resources, where they'll go in the school, getting them into jobs, getting them into special housing so they can be independent. Because unfortunately, as much as we love it, we're not going to be around all the time. So there's going to be a time where she's going to have to step up. So again, the school has been a really good resource of where we need to go, what we need to do, where we can get information from. And we found that to be really good.
Well, thank you. So Laura, let's switch to you. Thanks for joining us. So tell us when you first noticed, I believe at 2.5 years old?
Yes, at 2.5 years old. Because I did work in the field, I did notice a few developmental delays, and there was about, at the time, 2 other children in our life who were around the same age, a month, 2 months apart, and it just seemed like Amir wasn't as advanced as they are, but his growth was. So he had the weight, he had the size, everything was good there. So I was taking him for a checkup to his pediatrician, and I was, voicing some of my concerns. And she, just did a few different tests, basically testing fine motor skills, having him do little things with his hands, just observing his overall communication. She, did a few tester words, because at that age, they should know a certain amount of words to be, on track as far as the growth scale is concerned, for the doctors and pediatricians and whatnot. So she referred me to a specialist. We went through the ADOS test, and that was like a 3-day ordeal. It usually could be done in a day, but depending on the child, different, the spectrum is long. So different versions of autism, how much they can stand, how much they can't stand, you can come back and retake the test. But it took us 3 days to complete the test. And they said that he was on the spectrum. He had a mild to moderate version of autism.
Okay, can you describe any of the tests that he went through?
Yes, I can. So the first portion of the ADOS test usually is play-based. So that means the therapist or whoever's running that portion of the test at the moment will just see how the child will play in their natural environment. They'll open up the floor. It's usually an open floor plan, and there's toys, different variety of toys, and you just let the kid go play and see what he goes for. Amir really likes trains still to this day. He not so much as Pokemon, but trains is still up there for him. So at the time, he was very fixated on small objects, particularly trains, that he can hold in his hand. It's self-stimulatory for him, so that makes him feel good to hold something. Usually when people have autism, they have certain self-stimulatory behaviors, and they'll have certain things, repeating words or rocking back and forth or even yelling, that will soothe them. So his thing was holding something in his hand, and he was observed playing. After he was observed playing and choosing a toy that he took interest in, then that's when the test really began, because then they're going to say, okay, well, let's see how he handles when we take away what he prefers, a preferred item. That was to draw out if there were any behavioral issues or tantrums, basically testing his communication, how he handles things. Moving forward, that went on for the whole day, similar tests to that, just to see how he handled different situations. The next day was more so following instructions, seeing if he could follow instructions when it came to safety. So we kind of like went into a parking lot area and practiced to see if, he was just going to run around the parking lot, or if he was going to listen, if he was able to listen to me versus listening to the doctor, how he listened when I was around, how he acted when I wasn't around, vice versa. Then the third day was more or so motor skills. That was kind of frustrating for him, because they were forcing him to, do certain things. There was a few flashcards involved where he would just basically point. And she would pick like a cat or a dog, pick cat, pick dog, stuff like that. What else did they do? It was so long ago. I'm trying to remember the whole test because I had the choice to watch, and I was also given the choice to stand in the lobby and not watch because, you know, some parents, it's hard. It's hard to not want to interfere or say something or coach them or, you know, kind of like nudge your head, like, look, pick that one, you know, because we want a pure result of the test. So when all that was done, they asked me a couple of questions. Then I went and I met with a therapist, and they basically just asked me everything about our home life, how he interacts with family members, how he interacts in public, if there were ever any incidents that alarmed me, which there was. There was one incident with a pool that alarmed me. He just ran straight into the pool. Like he was calm. He never really messed with water or anything, but he just got up and I'm like, hey man, what you doing? And then he looked at me and he just took off like straight into 6 feet. And I dove in after him and I got him. He was okay and everything. But that definitely was like a red flag, like, okay, something's going on. So, yeah.
Wow. How old was he when he did that?
He had just turned 2. He had just turned 2. So it was
Okay.
a few months. Yeah, it was all of it fell into line within 6 months. Well, I say about maybe 4 month span from that incident to us going to the doctor, she giving me the referral and going on from there. It was a pretty quick process. I was told that, you know, it was such a quick process because he was so young. And, you know, at the time, I wasn't really well versed on children. I didn't step into working with children until I had my son. I've always worked with adolescents and younger adults.
Okay. So, were you a single mom at the time that you found out that he
Yes.
was diagnosed, right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us what you went through mentally during that period. And the reason I want you to share that with our viewers is because someone might be going through it. And so just knowing how you got through what you experienced, how you got through it is important as well. So let us know.
I wouldn't say it was a shock. Honestly, I felt blessed that I was able to see signs and I had education in the developmental disorder field and disability field and all that. I felt blessed, like, wow, I I can't imagine how mothers feel not really knowing anything about mental health or developmental disorders. So I felt blessed right out the gate. And I'm like, yes, I'm glad we caught it. And immediately I was just like, okay, it's time to work because I have seen both sides of the fence. I've seen 21-year-olds with autism who have never had any type of behavioral therapy or any type of therapeutic background to help them with their disorder versus people who've had some form of therapy out the gate and they have successful lives. They're able to work jobs, they're able to communicate, they still have their tics, and you know, there's certain things that they like or dislike, or they have their certain barriers or boundary issues, but they're working towards them. And I just wanted to make sure that he would be able to be a successful adult because this is a forever thing. There's no cure. And, you know, I don't necessarily think there should be a cure because therapy is a form of a cure in its own way, in my own opinion.
Thank you. So he's 7 years old now.
Yes, he is 7 years old.
And how is he doing now?
He's doing wonderful. One of the things I did leave out was Amir was very nonverbal. He was limited to communicating with animal sounds. So when he was doing the ADOS test and she was picking cat or dog, he would have to make that sound. So the way he would communicate, if he was upset, he would growl. If he was happy, he would bark or yip. You know, it was just depending on how he felt, he would choose the animal. And for a long time, it was like that. He didn't start really talking, I'd say, until about 4.5. And when he did start talking, he took off. And that was only because he had a lot of ABA therapy, applied behavioral analysis. So I praise applied behavioral analysis all day, every day. It is the best option, in my opinion, to help with certain, I want to say problems, but certain maladaptive behaviors that make it difficult for that individual to function in their everyday life.
Okay. So thank you. So
But,
I want to say thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Did you have something else, Aura?
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to just go to the viewers. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Everyone saying good evening to the panel. And Mish McLean, thank you for sharing. She says, my nephew is autistic and there have been challenges when he was younger, but now we know more of how to handle and understand. He's super special and smart. So thank you. And thank you, Terrence. He's enjoying the show. We appreciate you all tuning in because we're certainly learning a lot from everyone here this evening. Master Eddie, welcome back. I'm going to ask you to unmute as well. So you do not have any kids that are autistic, but you work with children every day. So tell us about your children. How many do you have?
I was just going over it. I would say in my dojo, I say I have about 15, and at different race, different styles. They come with, yes, some on the spectrum, some have Ashburn, all the way to ADHD, ADHD, and anger management problems. And when she mentioned her son sometimes growl, and I have a growler too. Yeah. So I work with a lot of different kids coming in. And I think with me, I guess I started in this area about 10, 11 years ago, and I started noticing some parents come in without mentioning it. They may be embarrassed at all about it, or, they probably don't think I would notice it. But over the years, I've been studying the martial arts and also teaching for 50 years. So from all the way from the 70s down, of course, back then it was a little bit different, but I have been working with kids, and I learned that, even though they have a slight defect, you would say, or just do things differently, I learned to treat them just like normal kids and just work with their small defect. And I notice it, and my biggest deal is to get to the parents is to give them time and take them to get help. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't hold back. Go ahead and realize they need the help and get them help, and then give them time, because all kids need time if you're going to really help them. And over the years, and I noticed when you treat them just like people and understand their problem. And I also had a mentor here last year, and she wrote several books on autism by the name of Lyndon Young, and she passed last year. But she was great. When I didn't know, I call up, go to church and talk to her about it, and then she'll give me the different styles of problems they have, and she'll tell me the level, and I will explain to her about what they do, and she give me the best remedy for it. And it was so amazing to talk to her. She wrote books, but she also had it in her family. So it wasn't like not just a book writer. She was also a client too. She also had it in her family, so it helped me a lot. And working with just people, this is like what this Smith said, is that when you take them as kids, then they grow up to be teenagers, and then next you have to let them live, and they have to grow up to be adults. And I was really amazed when someone helped me, Susan, mention Just People. And I went there, and there I seen a whole different world there. And I watched a lot of the ones with more experience than I, and they've been working with them so long, just to see them to grow up as adults, and even with Down syndrome and the amazing things they can do when I work with them. And I work with the blind with autism. And they told me this guy went and stepped nowhere without his cane. And then I started working with it, and he would walk all the way down with the sound of my voice, kicking, punching, and moving without the cane. So that just inspired me to work with more. And the kids itself in my dojo, I have some with Asperger's mean, Asperger's nice, Asperger's active, and artistic, and Asperger's. And I had one girl, I took her to a national karate tournament. It wasn't no specialty. It's not like disabled, this, that. And I talked with her mom. I said, I'm going to put her out there as is. And she won 4th place. And that was 7 different schools. There was 7 different states of kids there. And she didn't realize how amazing she was. And one time she won the tournament, but she felt sorry for the girls she beat, and she gave them the trophy. I felt like, but that was part of her disability. I'm going like, Florence, you're supposed to give it to them. She's so sweet. She won. There was no setup, no this, that, as is. And she won it. Yeah, she's so amazing. I mean, when you work with kids so long, you take time to get to know them, and then you have fun with them and get them to relax and get them to just do their thing. And that's when you can break the barrier, and they'll learn more. Even with the Smith kids, they're the same way. Of course, they're different. So, and I work with both of them, and they both talk. Daughter talks to me. I don't know if she talk home. I mean, Anthony do his thing, and the other kid come in, they tell him, my son don't talk to you. I say, well, she need to come here and tell him to stop talking in here, because your son talks. But he talks to me. I'm going like, well, she need to come in here and see what he really does. Yeah, but I have a way with kids. They say to me, no. I say, oh, no. But they say I have a way with them, so I just work what I know in my heart to better, serve the parents and also help the kids, because I always make sure I give the kids my intention first. The parents always say, yes, you introduce yourself and then you go straight to the kid, because I'm concerned about the kid. And when the kid's doing well, to me, I'm doing well. And that's how I handle the whole deal, even though the martial arts is an art of combat, but there's a lot of discipline behind it, focus behind it, and spiritual part of it. And that helps the kid, and it helps them to gain self-confidence, and it helps them to understand, yes, you failed this time, but you don't quit. You're going to get it. It just take a little bit more time. I don't want to overstay my visit, but that's how I am.
Well, thank you. And thank you for what you do. I'm listening to you, and I can't even imagine parents bringing their kids knowing that they're autistic, or maybe it's not autism, it could be something else. And they don't disclose that to you as the teacher, because you'll have to deal with it. They can't just drop off their kid and go without a disclaimer.
But I figure it out all the time.
They do.
I figure it all the time. I know when they wondering all, so I just come in and say, just tell me. I had one young lady, she came in and said, will you take my daughter? I say, because of that? I say, yes, but I asked her to find something, and she found it. First day in that, she found it. I say, welcome home. And I keep telling her, I say, welcome home. I'll say, well, you will see. And then they come and say, oh my God, I cannot believe this.
So to tell us, Master Eddie, let's give an example of a parent and a kid that you've welcomed in, and through the lessons that you're teaching them, how their journey has progressed, and what that does for you mentally that you're helping these kids. Anyone special stands out that you can describe to us?
Oh, wow. Oh, I got many of them. I would take Celeste. The Smith knows Celeste.
Give us a good one, a good one.
Okay, this is a good one. Celeste, that is Adonica kid. I think she started with about 8 years old. Oh, she's up. Oh, yep, that's all I have to do, mention her. Oh, that girl there. She started off with me, she bring it in, she told me about it. So I said, okay, that's fine. I should be able to work with it. And then it's like every morning about 8 o'clock, 8:30, me and Celeste get it on. Then I tell Adonica, I said, you know, Celeste does this and that and that. And she said, no, she don't. And then every day about 8:30, I'll call her. I say, all right, I can't talk to you now. She called, why? Me and Celeste got to wrestle. We got to do this and do that. Then after that, it's cool. Then she started noticing. Then she drove back and she said, there we go. And Celeste was one of the toughest, but I figured her out after so long. The way she acts, the way she does things, but she hears, she understands things. She's very smart. She grasps her surrounding and she treated her a certain way, and then she repeats stuff she sees. So I learned to teach her by repeating what I do and say. And I take on in that, and then she have a mood swings, and she try to be controlling. We go on walks. She try this, so I just basically say, okay, you the boss. I see you later. And then later on, she look, oh, you're not listening to me. So she ended up following me and carrying on doing exactly what I want to do. I just do the opposite. She said no. I say, okay, good. Yes, okay. You got no. I see you later. And it's always worked out to getting what I need done with them. And most of the kids the same way. And when I see other parents come in with the kid, and now they're actually telling me, because when they call me and they say, my kid is a little bit on the spectrum, I say, well, don't feel bad, feel at home. I say, I have quite a few on the spectrum. Oh, my kid had Down syndrome. Okay, what else? And then I say, that's fine. Well, my kid is Asperger and a big spectrum, and she might do that. I said, just bring her in and feel at home at the morning. I can work with her. I said, they all learn. I said, I have videos where they learn. And then they also become great adults too in their work. I say, this is not something that stopped them from being human. They are human. They are people. They are people.
Oh, absolutely. And that support, you touched on that support, whether it's family, friends, the teachers at school, as Team Smith mentioned, the resources that are available certainly help, so that everyone can transition better into the working world. And I really hope that changes and that we shed more light on it as well.
That is one thing I want to say, is that there are resources out there for you. Just like I was telling Adonica, and I think the Smith have heard me. This place, Just People got a grant, and they open up a retirement home from there. So when they bring their kids at age 21, I guess, I'm not sure, and they work with them there, and they take them everywhere, and they jobs, training, sports, they go to Special Olympics. We do martial arts, we do yoga, and they go all the way till they retire, and even when they move on. It's all there and it's out there, and it's different organizations out in Gwinnett County itself has that. It's just being connected, and just don't feel like you are alone. Ask questions. And I like the way they're coming towards me now. They're saying, my kid is on this, my kid does that. I said, no problem. Come on, I will work with her. Come in, sit back and relax and talk to the parents. When your kid come in, I'm gonna be talking to your kid. You wanna know more about me? Talk to my parents. And then when they see it, they say, you actually have fun. You kind of tough, but you having them laughing too. Yeah, because I'm getting them relaxed. And once they relax, that's it. They might come in as shy, and then I'm like, what happened to that shy person? can you just quiet up for now?
I'm sure they
Yeah,
look forward to coming back the next day to see you, Master Eddie.
oh my goodness. Yes, they do.
Thank you. Thank you for the special heart that you have, that big heart to take in so many kids and just treat them as if they're your own, and figuring each one out and what it takes to make them laugh and function as well.
Mhm.
Thank you. Miss Adonica, thank you. We finally get to see that beautiful face.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
No
Oh,
problem.
gosh.
So let's catch our viewers up. Adonica is a single mom with a 13-year-old. She actually created Spectrum Children's Activity Center about 8 years ago, and you quit corporate America.
Yes, I did.
So tell us about your 13-year-old boy or girl.
Her name is Celeste, and she's funny, witty, smart, creative. She's very high functioning on the spectrum. She cooks, not everything, but she has a few staple dishes that she can make for herself. And I mean, she's just a regular teenager, which also includes the mood swings and all those type of things. So a lot of things that any other teenager goes through, she goes through as well. And I think that's a point to be made about all of our children, is that if we think of ourselves growing up in all stages throughout our bringing up, we all experience different emotional and physical changes for ourselves. And we were considered to be mainstream children, but children with challenges go through the same exact thing, except they have the challenges along with that. So I just want to remind parents to kind of remain empathetic to that, because sometimes they can't, express themselves the way that we were able to going through all of those things. But she's awesome, beautiful, and I need a shotgun already, but I'm really hoping that I can help her the rest of the way to migrate her way into society to be as independent as possible for her, for herself.
So what age did you notice a difference, and what did you notice?
She was 2.5. Throughout the interview, I've been listening to everyone else, and we kind of share similarities in how, finding out, like Aura, for instance, how the battery of tests that we had to go through to find out where she was on the spectrum. I went through children are first. They were the first people that I called. They came to the house and they did some tests, which did include some flashcards and cognitive motor skills and things like that. And they actually told me that she was fine. But then as we went along and she went to daycare, she did a lot of parallel play. And that's one indicator that your child may have autism, is when, and parallel play is when a child is not involving themselves with the rest of the group. They kind of want to stay to themselves. They play out by themselves and don't make eye contact and things of that nature. So that's an indicator. And she was she was exhibiting those behaviors. And so I went to the Marcus Institute, which is an accredited institute, is located here in Atlanta, for autism. And they did tests. And it was then that I found out that she was on the spectrum for autism. And she was around, when the first test was done, around 3.5. And then the second test at the Autism Center, for Marcus Autism Center, was about 5 or 6 years old. And so at first I thought she was kind of young and perhaps she needed to grow into herself a bit more, because some children, there have been cases where children don't decide they don't speak until a little bit later, or they're a little bit more delayed, but then they turn out to be just fine, and it's not any concern. But and as a parent, you want to make sure that you do your due diligence, and so that's what I did. And it's best to catch it as early as possible so that you can get them all the help that they need. And so and that began my journey with autism. I think about my journey, and all the people on the panel have shared the journey with me at some point or another, and they're still on it with me, and I'm still on it with them. And excuse me, when I found out that that was going to be something that I was going to have to learn about and and kind of adjust my life, and Celeste's life, into it was very hard, because I am a single parent, and there are a lot of single parents out there, and we make things happen and we work hard and all those things, but the challenges is that with any child, it helps when you have a level of support. And so I found myself scrambling in that area for a while. And initially, I had a really good job, and I put her in daycare. I looked around for daycare for a while, and the very first daycare center, and I'm not going to name any names, but the first one I went to, um, I went in and I asked them if they were able to take on children on the spectrum. And the lady that worked there told me that they did, and she pointed over to a wall with a closet with the hinge, with the door taken off the hinges, a desk and a chair, and there was a little boy singing there. And she's like, "That's where we put him." And that was so heart-wrenching to me, because I asked her, I said, "Well, why is he here and all the other children are somewhere else?" And she said, "Well, it's too overwhelming for him, so that's the best accommodations that we can make for him." And that wasn't going to be good enough for me. So I that was heart-wrenching. And so then I quit my job. I prayed for a very long time. I just waited to hear from God what he wanted me to do, because I'm going to work and have my daughter subject to care that I'm not approving of, or I'm going to quit my job and, I don't know, try to make it the best that I can. And so what I did before I quit was I went and I asked some parents in her homeroom how they're making it. What is their support, system, and how are they able to get through all this? And came to find out that a lot of people needed the same supports that I did. So that's when I decided that I would become the support for other families, like myself. And that's how Spectrum was born. I didn't know what I was doing at all in terms of running a business or anything like that, but I don't know if anybody's ever, and I don't want to get spooky or anything about it, but you just know when you're called to do something and you don't have fear about it, you just go and do it, because you know that it's something, it's a calling, and that's how I feel about the work that we do. And I remember, I'll tell you guys a story about Master Eddie. Because Master Eddie, you didn't do that story justice about when we first met. And I was looking for someone to watch Celeste. And I ran across Master Eddie, and I asked him if he could watch her for me. And he did. I think it was one day, or 2 days. The first day you were like, yeah, she can come back, like kind of half-heartedly. And the next day you're like, well, listen, I don't think she can come back after today. And so he and I actually went back and forth a little bit. And I was like, well, wait a minute, you have to give me more time. I have to find someplace else for her to go and all these things. And but he was willing to at least try. So I did have to, and which is rare, because a lot of people don't have patience or empathy to do this type of work, and to at least try to help in that area, because our children are challenging, just like any other child, but because of their own challenges, you really have to have a heart for it. You really have to be the type of person that you can't be short-tempered. You have to have patience. You have to have a big heart, and to just kind of empathize with them and what they may be going through. Not baby them, though. We don't do that. We hold them to a standard, and we want them to mature, and we do show them the proper behaviors and things of that nature. But there has to be a balance there, and not everybody has patience for that. So I understood. So then fast forward, I think it may have been maybe a year later, or a little bit less than a year. I ran into him at the park, and he runs a summer camp program himself. And I thought he was mad with me, and he thought I was mad with him. So we weren't really speaking, although we saw each other there. And then one of the children came up to me, and they recognized me. And they said, "Hey, Miss Adonica." And I was like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" And they're like, "Master Eddie's over there." So he came to and he spoke to me, and he's like, listen, I had parents asking about, you know, a place for their children to go that have autism. And I thought about you, and I wanted to know if you were still interested in doing that. And I told him that I was. So he offered me a space in his karate studio to start my business, to have a place where people can actually come and drop their children off. So Spectrum really just started as like an art class in the karate studio on a Saturday afternoon with just myself and my niece. It was just the two of those. And but the most children, the biggest turnout that Spectrum had, and thank you, Master Eddie, for, you know, offering that up to me, and for being my mentor. And I love you so much. This, and then of course I have stories about everybody on the panel, and I love everybody on here so much because they've been so supportive, and just, I mean, we've had our bouts of frustration, and you know, just it's been, we've pulled each other up and pulled each other through, and, you know, supported each other through all types of adversities, and that's what people need. We it does take a village. When they say that, it's just not a cliche. It's an actuality that children do need a village to help them come up. So Spectrum right now, where I'm at with Spectrum is we started doing summer camps. We did VBS, a week of VBS for the children, and we participated in everything: swimming, bowling, basketball. I mean, whatever any other summer camp offers, that's what we offer as well. And we don't insult their intelligence. The Girl Scouts of America would come and volunteer time there and show them science projects. And I mean, they open up, they blossom. You see that they come into themselves because they don't feel like they're being judged. They know they can be themselves, and they're going to have a good time. And, you know, they bond with each other outside of camp. I've vacationed with the Smiths. They're my family, you know, and I mean, we do things outside of what had started out to be a forum to just help parents who need support. And we've supported each other, you know, outside of that forum, and continue to do so. And so my aspiration is to become a staple in the community where people could come, the families with children or adults on the spectrum can come and know that they have a place that belongs to them, know that there's some place that is not going anywhere, that's a staple, and where we could see everybody grow up and go through school and help them out through that, and academics, sports, you know, whatever they're dealing with, they know they have some place that's just theirs, and they won't feel awkward, they won't be judged, and, you know, and we can all grow together. So that's what I'm aspiring, you know, for the future of Spectrum Children Activity Center. And
wow. Wow. Out to all of you, I mean, amazing, Adonica. I understand you as a mom, and I think a lot of moms are relating to you, because when you drop your kid off and it's just not the right place, you just know it.
yeah.
And a lot of people will just take their kid and go find somewhere else where you're more comfortable with. That might be a little better than the other one, but girl, you took it to the next level. You created a whole business out of it. And not just a business, but something that is really, really needed, providing a space for kids that really need it, that can be themselves, like you said. And I had no idea. One of the great things about this show is just meeting people from all over the world, and I'm coming on vacation with y'all.
We have a good time.
Y'all sound like fun. But, you know, on a serious note, I think it's awesome. And Master Eddie, just for you, you know, opening up your door, you know, you turn them away and like, no, your child can't come back tomorrow. And then you're like, yo, I can't live with myself if she doesn't come back. And she came back the next day, and you opened your arms out and created a space. What an amazing journey of lifting each other up and just being there as a community. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Hats off to all of you. Let me see what the viewers are saying. So Laura Bryant says, Adonica, I'm extremely proud of you. Michelle McLean, you are all phenomenal. And Desmond Watson says earlier in his career, he taught children with autism. Thank you so much, Desmond, for sharing that. And Laura Bryant said, and more wow, just wow. So can someone describe the spectrum? For those of us that don't know, what's the spectrum?
I'll take that one. So autism is so broad that actually not too long ago, they decided, okay, it's not just going to be autism, it's going to be autism spectrum disorder, because it's a wide array of different versions. There's so many different versions of autism, because not only does the developmental delay play on, you know, their strengths and their weaknesses, but also their personality. For example, Celeste is her personality is she's shy and she's quiet, but she can also be very outspoken and very bubbly. She can be reserved and want to keep to herself, but she can also want to be very social and interact with others, you know. And I believe that is because she has had a lot of early intervention, a lot of therapy, and when I say therapy, I'm talking about recreation. So Master Eddie, what you're doing is amazing. That is a form of therapy. That is a form of ABA. You are definitely showing some applied behavioral analysis in your dojo. And when they say mild to severe on the spectrum, so it's kind of like a number line. You know, mild can be okay. When he started off, he had a few issues, but by the time he was 13, you know, he was interacting with his peers, no more parallel play. He actually had friends, wanted to be very independent, blase, and, you know, he's doing great. And then we have, you know, some individuals who are more severe on the spectrum where some of their developmental delays really affect their everyday life. Like they might have issues with sensory issues is a big example. Depending on how severe the sensory issues are, you know, you might have a person on the spectrum who could never wear a tennis shoe his whole life. He's 21. He just can't put his foot in a tennis shoe. The feeling of his foot being closed in, his foot sweating, the feeling of a sock, it just doesn't work for him. So he sandals all day, every day, you know, and just little things like that could probably stop him from being able to get a job at, you know, Kroger's as the bag boy, because he has to wear closed-toe shoes. Or it could probably stop him from going to, you know, certain establishments. Hey, we're going to the YMCA. You want to get in the pool? He loves the water, but you can't wear your water shoes in the pool at the YMCA there. You know, they might have certain rules or whatever, give or take, you know, depending on where you go, you can usually communicate with the staff and, you know, get accommodations. But that was just an example of how, you know, certain things could be more severe than others. Or they, you know, as far as in school, the severities, they might just not be able to grasp the concept of math, you know, and that could cause a big delay in their education and their development, because we're not even going to get into the school systems, but hey, you know, they could be left behind very easily. And with that one little flaw that they had, it can make a lot of other issues. And as they grow as an adults, that's when it becomes more prevalent and more of, you know, quote unquote, a problem, you know. But yeah, autism spectrum basically is saying that yes, there is a developmental disease or delay, depending on your opinion, that has multiple versions, different variations. You know, they might be high functioning, they might be low functioning, but I think personally, the whole spectrum thing, it's like, it's kind of hard to gauge because they might be higher functioning in one thing and lower functioning in another thing.
That's right.
So it kind of sums it up pretty, evenly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aura. I want to thank the entire panel, the viewers, and I'm just going to go to each of our panel and just ask them, what closing thoughts you have. So let's start with Team Smith. Anything that you want to add to the conversation or say tonight before we part?
I would say get a good support system. It's very important. Because we are not the only ones going through it. So the more people you get involved in to find out about what they're going through could also help you. Get your contacts, stay in contact, and just be involved in the kid's life. It's very important that you are that one person that they know and that's going to help them along their journey as well.
I would like to say, don't be afraid to talk to somebody to get the help that you need. I would like to say, if you let this thing stay in the darkness, you're not helping yourself or the child that you have. I would also like to say, for me, pray for patience, pray for understanding, guidance, and perseverance, really, and know that you're not alone. Like she said, there's a lot of us out there that are going through this stuff. And it's not just a thing with the children, it's the parents too. Because the parents it was a family thing, So I'm gonna shut up now. Thank you.
Thank you. Some good advice from Team Smith, and of course that love and family support. So important. I can't thank you both enough for everything you're doing, for opening up your homes to so many children and to taking Adonica on family trips. Wow.
She's family.
Well, yes, the two children that the Smiths have, Anthony and Amber, that are on the spectrum, I'm their godmother. So and I wouldn't have been their godmother had they not come to my camp, and we met up and became really close.
We love you, Adonica.
Those are my people. I love you.
Awesome.
We got love for you too.
Yes.
Lots of love. So anything you want to say in closing, Adonica?
I'm gonna just chime on the same comment that was made with the Smith fam, is that you do need support. So church. I want to put out, there's a organization called Autism Speaks, and I'm sure a lot of people may have heard of that. If you just Google it, Autism Speaks, they have a lot of resources on their website from all over the country. They have a phone number where you can call and ask questions. They have a group of people that are ready to answer your questions in terms of what type of help you may need. They have recreation. My business was also featured on their website as a resource in the community to, where you can find camps and different things like that for your children, and support groups and things like that. AADD, all about developmental disabilities, is another association out there that has resources. They give vouchers for extracurricular activities, and they know they can direct you to maybe getting additional help financially and things like that for your child. And some agencies, the process is really slow. So just, start as early as you can, so that by the time your child is in need of some of these services, then maybe you won't have to wait as long for them to actually kick in for you. Some things are readily available for you as well. It's just and sometimes things aren't obvious online. Like they have a lot of scholarships that are underneath a child's name, that you don't even know that that's something that you could apply for that has to do with autism. So, and let me just say that is because I found I had a hard time finding some information for myself early on as I was studying and researching autism, and some things weren't made obvious. And so I think that perhaps when people put their business names out there or anything to help the autism community, that they should add the name. They should have the word autism as part of somewhere in there, so that when you Google it, it actually will bring that up. And it does, it won't be like searching for a needle in a haystack. A lot of stuff is word of mouth. And, you know, I don't know how, I guess, I don't know if I can leave information for the viewers about Spectrum, because not only do we do what we do with the community and our children, but we also, help to advise each other, and we are a support group also. So people could call and we can have a conversation, because sometimes it's just as simple as that. That's all you want to do, is somebody to just hear you out and let you know it's going to be okay. So we're, all engulfing that way. And we're just
Yep.
trying to embrace our community.
I believe the Smiths mentioned that the importance of the parents as well, and their mental
Oh,
health
yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
So yes,
Yeah.
you can certainly drop your links in the group for the Caribbean Edge, Adonica. And for
Okay.
the viewers listening, you may have information, resources. Please, please, please share them in the Caribbean
Yeah.
Edge group, because we are one big family, one big world. And so we, this is how we help each other out. Like the unity this panel has. I mean, it's amazing. So thank you, Adonica, and for the work you're doing, and for your amazing daughter. Thank you for sharing your journey with her as well tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for
You're
having me.
welcome. Absolutely. Master Eddie, any final thoughts for you?
Mine would be, parents, don't be in denial. Get the help, just like the Smith said, and Adonica said, and the other young lady. Realize that the earlier you can get the kids some help, and reach out to people, reach out to your schools in your area. Just help us out there. Just take time and get the help. And you find facilities that you can also work with them physically as well. But take your time and check out this studio, dance studio, martial arts studio. Sit in and watch, because if they don't let you sit down and watch, don't go, because it don't hurt to sit and watch and even interact. That is my biggest thing, because it takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of understanding and time with them, and figuring them out. Just like on Celeste. Celeste loved coming here and wrestling with me for 30 minutes after all this time. Donica stopped and said, Celeste wanted to see me. I said, oh no, here we go. She's 30 minutes. And 15, 30 minutes, she's just busy. Come on, let's play karate. It's like, because she never forgotten it. I mean, because I'm also a deacon, and we also do VBS together too. And you got to realize you're leaving a big mark on their heart and their lives. So take time, just like to say, with your kids. I know it's hard. I know it's get on your nerves, pain, but take time. It will pay off.
Thank you, Master Eddie. And before I reach over to Aura, and I'm having the same thought as Bernadette Charles. She says this program is very informative. Thanks to the panel, it would be wonderful to showcase some of the kids. And I was thinking the same thing. Like, I would love to meet your kids. So we're gonna plan that. Okay? If the parents
Be careful what you ask for. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
We're meeting the kids. So thank you so much for that comment, Bernadette. We agree. And Aura, anything you want to say in closing? We so appreciate you all.
Yes, one thing I would like to say that is super important, and I think people don't really touch on it a lot, is like consistency, repetition. Just because you find the resources, you get help from school, they go to this therapy program, they do recreation, they do this. If you do not apply what they are learning from their sensei, from their master, from their teachers, from their therapists, from their recreational providers, then it's all for naught. We have to keep a routine. Repetition is so important when it comes to autism. Like, it'll save your life if you apply repetition to your everyday life.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Evening.
All right, viewers, we can't thank you enough. I am so glad that I get to host the show every Wednesday and meet amazing people like this, because I actually researched for my home country, Jamaica, how many children are impacted by this, and it's 1 in 68. And I've never, ever, ever had a conversation on autism. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for sharing, and we will hashtag autism. So anyone trying to learn more will certainly be able to find us. Thank you once
you.
again. We'll
Thank
be
you
in
for
touch
having
about
us.
the children
you.
and have an amazing night.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.